That's right. Got us another YerfDog, baby. YerfDog! Hey, if you don't like my dog when you come over, I'll be happy to lock you in the room till you leave. And you know what they say, the best therapist has fur and 4 legs? Well, this one's got a 420 and 4 tires. Best believe we finna get on it. So this cart is not mine. This cart actually belongs to a guy that lives about an hour away from me. I've done work for him in the past. He's a pretty good dude. I like him a lot. And he calls me up, wants a 420 on a YerfDog. I says, of course we can do it. I even got one for sale. He says, I already own a couple 420 engines. I don't really need to buy another one. I says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal on a 420 and a 40 series torque converter kit you can't refuse. Needless to say, he didn't refuse. He paid cash, bought the engine and the torque converter kit. So now we got some work to do. Alrighty. Well, one thing I've noticed about this YerfDog is that rear sprocket there can be flipped around, which would put the sprocket about 3 inches to the left. You see how it's got that 3-inch lip on it right here? So if we flip that sprocket around, the sprocket should be about right here. And I've already calculated a little bit. I think that if we flip the sprocket and move that sprocket over like I said, that it'll be just perfect to reslot this engine plate and go ahead and use it. So let's go ahead and try that before we go any further and see if I can't just reslot this engine plate and use this existing engine plate. That would be ideal. So first thing I'm going to do is jack it up, drop the axle, and go ahead and pull the sprocket, flip it, and put it back on. Okie dokie. Nut I ever took off. Alright, let's show you this. So we got some snap rings on the end here. We got a snap ring here, and we got a snap ring right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this snap ring off and loosen all this up, and go ahead and loosen up this whole side over here.
So now that we dropped the axle, we're going to pull off this one more snap ring. Hopefully. Boom! Get off there. Almost. We almost got her. I said boom too fast, didn't I? Alright, put this with the other ones so we don't lose them. Next, you need to loosen these two. See if the old impactor will get it. Oh. Alright. So now, what we're hoping to do is slide this off, flip it, put it right back on. And then put all this right back together. So let's try it and see if it's all in vain or if it works. Well, if you'll notice, the sprocket is now flipped, so it's perfect in line where the torque converter will be. And if not, I can space it out a little bit, the sprocket on the torque converter, to make it parallel, even, whatever. So yeah, now I get to look at reslotting this engine plate.
"20 minutes later."
Yeah. So I think we're good on reslotting the engine plate. I'll go ahead and do that. Alright, it's kind of hard to see, but you'll see my little black mark right there. And I got one up there, one over there. I'm going to use this pre-existing hole here. So we're going to go ahead and cut and slot the other 3 holes real fast. And then the 420 bolt right on this beast. So let's go ahead and knock this out. Get it over with.
Alright, so as you see, this is where I'm going to be mounting the ignition switch, or the key switch, whatever you want to call it. Just right above the steering wheel here. I think it looks pretty good. You can reach it. Customer likes it, so that's what we're going with. Looks pretty good from the front too. I like it there. So let's go ahead and I guess I'm gonna use some self-tappers. Get it put in right here and get it over with. Put y'all in the front. Alright, so this is why the steering wheel had so much play in it. Let me show you this. Now, alright, so this is why the steering wheel had so much play in it. You can't have a 5/16 hole and a smaller bolt in it. It's gonna have play. Look at that. Every time you turn the steering wheel, it's gonna move. It's gonna have that little bit of play in it. So what we gotta do is just put some bigger bolts in here, take all that slack out. So let's do this real fast. There's no play in between the steering wheel and the flange now. I made sure of that. I'm going to go ahead and put some red Loctite on these nuts and go ahead and tighten them all the way down, or on these bolts. That's right, what play? We don't play. Ain't got no play in our steering wheel, because we don't play. Well, I don't know what's up with the zip ties on the steering, but we're going to go ahead and remove the zip ties and pull this bolt out and see what's going on. Maybe they didn't have the right nut, so they put some zip ties there. I would certainly hope not.
Everything you said we already knew, more or less.
Well, here's something that you didn't know. 2 of those special atomic bombs haven't gone off.
Alright, now we're going to try to adjust these shocks a little bit. It might be difficult on the cart. Nah, it's turning pretty easy. Extremely easy. So we got this one adjusted all the way up. Let's try this one. One more. One more in one spot. There we go. Definitely an 8mm. So let me check this exhaust out, see what I come up with. Besides the fact that it's extremely restrictive. Alright, so right there. Shit, it actually might work. Alright, so I'm going to remove these 3 8mm bolts and spin this recoil around so that he can pull it this way instead of towards the back seat. So let's go ahead and pull this off real fast. Okay, so when cutting my throttle cables, I've had a lot of people ask me how I do it to keep the throttle cable from flaring or whatever, and from all the little bristles, you know, poking out and sticking out and everything. So let's make sure you're in focus. Looks pretty good. So the first thing I do when cutting my throttle cables, I'm going to take some electrical tape and I'm going to go to where the cables are still wrapped and twined nicely. I'm going to make sure that I get some electrical tape on there and it's good and tight. Now I'm going to take a cutoff wheel and cut this about halfway through the tape. Just cut it real fast, straight off. Nice and smooth. You're trying to make a nice clean cut, one good direction. So let's go ahead and grab our cutoff wheel and cut this off real fast. Well, as you see, my cutoff wheel is pretty much gone, but it should still work. Hopefully the only thing left is tape. Yep, just tape. So that means we got a good clean cut. Let's take a look at this. Look at that. No flares, no little twine sticking out. It's perfect. Perfect. And that is how I cut my throttle cables. So I'll take a look here. I think we did pretty good. So now I'm going to go underneath the cart and pull the throttle cable out of the housing. It's got a nice sized kink in it here. Hopefully we'll get it back in. So now I'm going to take and cut about 1.5 inches off this metal jacket here. Alright, once I cut that jacket, there's always going to be a little burr down in the hole, so I go get a little file, and if the file don't work, because the hole, yeah, it's not going to work, hold on. Alright, so now I've got this old poke test light, just a little old poke tester, and the wire came out of it, so now I'm going to use it to clean where the throttle cable comes out here. Just stick it in there, make sure there's nothing in the way. If there's a nice little hard edge, I'll stick the grinder back up there to it and get that off, but I think we're pretty good. There we go. So we got the hole cleared out, it's looking pretty good. Now we're going to go back under the cart and try to feed our throttle cable back through, but like I said, this metal housing has a kink in it for some reason. Somebody got a kink in it, so it might not feed back through properly, or it might just glide right back in. I guess we'll find out right now. There it goes. Come on. Keep it going. Keep it going. Now we're at that kink. Oh yeah, I got it past the kink. Should be seeing it come out any second. And there we go. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Alright, so as you see, we got the metal housing cut down, and we got a new throttle cable with nothing flaring off the end. That's what I'm talking about, baby. So now we're gonna hook it up to the engine. So I got this angle from a buddy of mine, and it's a perfect piece of angle to build a battery box, and it's also got some little brackets here we can use for some support. So let's go ahead and cut these pop rivets off, or whatever, these little metal rivets here, get them cut off, and we'll use this angle to make us a battery box. Cut this right there. Anyway, we're gonna choke it and we're gonna turn the key, see what happens. Down there doing burnouts and we snapped the chain, and that's not the link, that's just a regular part of the chain. That is not the link. Whipped it right out of there. Well, let's put a new chain on it and try it again.
The next day.